for the Nintendo Switch 2 is here.
It really is, and we've got some great source material to work with. A detailed unboxing video, and some very first impressions from someone actually getting their hands on it.
Right. So our mission today is simple.
Yeah.
Cut through all the hype and just look at what this source tells us. What are the key features? What feels different? What stands out immediately when you take it out of the box?
Exactly. We're trying to pull out the really essential stuff from this initial hands-on look. What do you really need to know right now?
Okay, so let's start right there, the unboxing.
Yeah.
What actually came in the package according to this source?
Well, first off, the source kind of flagged it as a pricey box.
Hmm.
And yeah, looking at the list, you see why. It wasn't just the Switch 2 console.
Right.
It included a Mario Kart World bundle, a separate Switch 2 camera accessory, the new Switch 2 Pro controller, and a physical copy of Mario Kart World. So quite a bit.
Plus the usual bits and pieces, I assume, cables and things.
Yeah, exactly. Got your HDMI cable, the Joy-Con straps, the little attachments, a wall plug, USB Type-C cable, all that standard stuff.
Okay.
Plus the updated Joy-Con hub thingy, and importantly, the new dock. Different shape, it's got fans inside now, and it pushes 4K out to the TV.
Wow, okay. Fans in the dock is interesting. Did the source mention the individual prices they saw?
They did. Apparently, the console itself was listed around $449. The Mario Kart bundle was $499. That camera was $55. The Pro controller, $85. And the game itself, if you bought it separately, a pretty steep $80. So yeah, it adds up.
And crucially, they had the older Switches handy for comparison.
Yep, they had an original Switch 1 and the Switch 1 OLED model right there. Perfect for, seeing the differences side by side.
Excellent. So let's focus on the main event, the console itself.
Yep.
What were the first impressions physically?
Well, it's bigger. That's the first thing, noticeably bigger. The source described the screen as a really nice, large 7.9 inches with pretty thin bezels. Looked quite sleek, they said.
And the ports.
Yeah.
They got the essentials.
Yeah, seems like it. USB-C on top. Cartridge slot also still up top, pretty convenient. And the side pins, for the Joy-Cons.
Uh-huh.
They mentioned there's like a tiny bit of give or flex to them. Apparently that's intentional for durability. Makes sense if it gets knocked.
Smart. And the screen, anything special about it right out of the plastic?
Yeah. It actually comes with a screen protector already installed. The source said you could definitely see it and the instructions are clear. Don't remove it.
Oh, interesting.
But they did confirm you can put another screen protector over the top if you're worried about scratches. So you have options there.
Okay, good to know. Now, let's talk about something the source seemed really hyped about. The new Joy-Cons.
Oh, yeah. You could tell they were impressed. They basically said these feel like almost as big an upgrade as the screen itself, which is saying something.
Really? Why such a strong reaction? What's different?
Well, for starters, they're larger, physically bigger, and apparently that makes a real difference in how they feel much more ergonomic, more comfortable to hold, especially for longer gaming sessions,
Okay, that sounds good.
And the buttons and the joysticks, they're bigger too. Just feels more substantial, I guess.
And how they attach, that's changed too, right? Magnets?
Yep, a magnetic system. The source described it as feeling super, super well attached when they're on the console, like really secure.
But easy to get off.
Apparently, yeah. You just press a little release button, give it a pull, and pop. They come right off. The source actually called the action so satisfying.
Ah, okay. And better haptics too.
Absolutely. That was mentioned. Improved haptics adds to that overall premium upgraded feel.
Now, this is kind of wild. The source mentioned something about using the Joy-Cons as a mouse. How does that work?
Right, yeah. They can function like a pointer or a mouse. The source showed it off, scrolling through menus on screen, selecting things with the top button. There are even tutorials built into the system to show you how. They also showed these little plastic bumper things you can attach.
Yeah, what were those?
They clip onto the bottom, kind of give you a better grip when you're using them individually, or, it seems, when you're using that pointer function. Helps keep it steady.
So is this going to be used in games much, do they think?
The source kind of speculated that while it works well, maybe don't expect tons of games to use it right away, but it's definitely a core feature of the system itself. Interesting potential there.
Definitely. Okay, moving beyond the console and controllers, what about that camera?
Ah, yes, the camera. Described as tiny and cute, connects via USB-C, and it has a little physical slider, like a bezel on the front to cover the lens for privacy. Good touch.
Makes sense. What's it for, though? Why add a camera now?
Well, the source linked it to some Nintendo Connect event and a new C button somewhere on the console. The idea seems to be all about social features.
Like sharing gameplay.
Exactly. Sharing moments, maybe even having your face overlaid on the gameplay feed when you're playing with friends, potentially even like basic live streaming directly from the Switch 2. Seems like they're leaning into the social side.
Interesting angle.
Hmm.
And the new Pro controller, worth the 85 bucks.
Well, it's $85. The source noted it felt pretty heavy, actually. They guess the weight was probably from a bigger battery. And those enhanced haptics uses USB Type-C for charging, naturally.
And the dock, we mentioned fans, 4K out. Anything else?
Just that it's a new shape, obviously. And the source did mention there's maybe a little bit more wiggle room when the console is slotted in compared to the old dock. Didn't seem like a major issue, just an observation.
Gotcha. Okay, so everything's unboxed, plugged in, power on. What was that initial software experience like?
First thing noted, startup time. So much faster than before. Always nice to hear.
Definitely.
And then the setup was pretty standard stuff, you know?
Yep.
Choose your language region, accept the agreement, set the time zone, the usual.
Any updates needed right away?
Yep, there was a day one update. But the source pointed out something neat. You could actually carry on with the rest of the setup while the update downloaded in the background, so less waiting around.
That is convenient. What about the home screen? Does it look totally new?
Not really. The source said it looked pretty familiar, actually. Largely the same layout as the old switch your account icon up top, games listed below, access to game chat, settings, all that. Comfortable territory.
Anything interesting hidden in the settings?
They did check the TV output settings. It defaults to automatic resolution, goes up to 4K, which is great. But the source noted it didn't look like you could manually force a specific refresh rate for the TV output, like 60 hertz or whatever. Minor point, maybe, but worth noting for some.
Right. And for people getting that physical Mario Kart bundle, any quirks there?
Just that they showed the cartridge, tiny cart, big plastic case, you know, the drill. And they mentioned that you actually needed the physical cart to play on launch day. Apparently the digital version wasn't unlocking until the next day, according to the source anyway. Ah, okay, good tip for early adopters. Now the comparisons. Side by side with the old models, what really jumped out?
Okay, so putting the Switch 2 next to the Switch 1 and the OLED model, the big things were, yeah, the size difference, but also the screen. The source said the Switch 2 screen looked significantly better.
Better than the original, obviously, but better than the OLED too.
Well, maybe not in terms of pure OLED contrast, but the source seemed to think it was a really impressive LCD. Definitely a big upgrade visually, maybe brighter or clearer. Plus, they mentioned a higher refresh rate, 120 hertz for the console's display itself was mentioned.
Wow, 120 hertz on the handheld screen.
Yeah, plus more internal storage than the old ones. Oh, and the kickstand. Interestingly, it looked more like the little flimsy one on the original Switch, not the nice full-width one from the OLED.
Huh, okay, so the screen is a big deal, even if it's not OLED.
That was the takeaway, yeah.
Yeah.
The source kind of framed it as, you know, maybe the nerds want OLED perfection, but most people just want a bigger screen. And this new 7.9-inch one definitely delivers that. Does that mean we should give up hope for an OLED version later?
Oh, probably not. The source actually voiced the expectation that, yeah, we'll likely see a Switch 2 OLED model at some point in the next, 2 years or something.
Right.
Probably costs more, but you'd get that bigger screen with OLED tech, 120 hertz, maybe some other little tweaks. Seems like a logical future step.
Okay. And the source also mentioned a specific third-party case, right? The kill switch. What was the deal with that?
Yeah, they seemed quite impressed with it. This case, the main feature seems to be this super tough, rigid travel cover. Like crush-proof, apparently.
Oh, wow.
And inside that cover, kind of a neat trick, there are 10 magnetic slots to hold your game cards. When you take the cover off, the case that stays on the Switch still lets you use the kickstand, which is good.
And you can still get the Joy-Cons off.
Yeah.
A lot of cases block that.
Exactly. That was a key point. Unlike many other cases, this one lets you detach the Joy-Cons fully. Plus, the case itself adds this sort of ergonomic grip to the back of the Joy-Cons, making them comfier, and it still works with those little mouse pointer bumpers attached.
Okay. Sounds pretty well thought out. Can you dock it with the case on? That's usually the problem.
Yes, but you need an adapter that comes with it. You basically put the Switch with the case onto this adapter tray, and that slots into the dock. The source said it supports full 4K 60 Hz pass-through to the TV, and the dock's fans can still cool the console properly.
So a complete solution then, pretty much.
Yeah, the source's overall vibe was that it's really durable, well-built, like a tank for protecting the Switch when you're traveling. High praise.
All right, so wrapping up this first look, this deep dive, based on the source's initial unboxing and fiddling, what are the absolute headline takeaways?
Honestly, based just on this source, it really boils down to two main things right out of the box. The console feels bigger, and that larger screen looks noticeably better. And secondly, the new Joy-Cons. They seem like a really significant upgrade in feel, ergonomics, and just how they attach.
Those seem to be the immediate wow factors.
Yeah.
And yeah, that lingering thought from the source that an even fancier OLED version is probably on the horizon, maybe in a year or two.
Right, for those who want the absolute best display, likely at a higher price.
So here's a final thought for you listening. Think about those maybe less flashy features we touched on from the source. That camera, the potential for social sharing opens up. Or even the Joy-Cons, being able to act as a mouse pointer.
Mm-hmm.
These might seem small now, but how could they change things down the line? Could these additions actually shift how we interact on consoles, or maybe even how developers design controls or social experiences in the future?
It's interesting, right? Could open up possibilities beyond just, buttons and sticks in standard online lobbies. Definitely something to ponder.
Indeed. Food for thought as the Switch 2 era begins.